I'm secular and I vote. Welcome to this week's episode of FFRF's Ask an Atheist. I'm Dan Barker.
And I'm Laurie Gaylor. Dan and I are co-presidents of the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which produces Ask an Atheist.
FFRF is celebrating Constitution Day, which is this coming Saturday, September the 17th, the 235th anniversary of the signing of our godless, entirely secular U.S. Constitution. We're celebrating with a national secular voter campaign, and in a minute we're going to preview some of the ads that will be running on Sunday, September 18th, in 45 daily newspapers around the country, plus a number of billboards.
And we're delighted to have on our program one of the participants in our campaign, Mandisa Thomas, who is founder and president of Black Nonbelievers. Welcome back to Ask an Atheist, Mandisa.
Hi, Laurie and Dan. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here, and it is also an honor to be a part of this campaign.
Well, thank you so much, and we're going to talk to you about that in a minute. But we also want to talk about the upcoming conference that you're putting on at the end of September, Mandisa, Women of Color Beyond Belief. And we want to let people know how to register and what will be happening. So we'll get back on that issue.
That's in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Right? So we'll come back to you just a minute, Mandisa. Just stay put. But first, we want to show what this We're Secular and We Vote campaign is all about. We actually unveiled round one of the campaign over the July 4th weekend in about 21 states. This week, we're going to the remaining 29 states.
Yes, and it has been a lot of work, but very gratifying. And our video producer has kindly compiled a short video, showcasing some of these ads, and we'll show that in a second. But first, we do want to talk about the campaign itself, which is described in our full-page ad. We have one running in the Washington Post as well as in 45 other dailies this Sunday. And it features FFRF's very own staffer, Sadie Pattinson. And Sadie is actually working behind the scenes today in the control room, so we have a lot of reasons to thank Sadie. And Dan, I thought as we look at this ad, why don't you read the copy?
All right, so the caption of the ad notes that Sadie Pattinson is a secular values voter who honors the 235th anniversary of the signing of the godless U.S. Constitution. The text goes on to say, I'm one of more than 75 million secular Americans who are not religious. The nones, N-O-N-E-S, those of us unaffiliated with religion, are now 29% of the U.S. population. We are the largest denomination by religious identification.
So let that sink in.
Yeah.
There are more of us than Catholics, more of us than any other single denomination in the United States.
And the ad goes on to say, as a secular voter, I trust in reason, science, and America's secular constitution. I want Congress, my state legislature, my public officials, and our courts to keep religion out of government and social policy, keep religion out of public schools, keep religion out of bedrooms, personal lives, and healthcare decisions, including when or whether to have children and whom to love or marry.
And so important after Roe versus Wade has overturned. And atheists are the group that are most supportive of abortion rights, and 98.8% of our members supported Roe versus Wade. So the atheist vote is so important with abortion rights.
And then the ad goes on to say, to use my tax dollars only for evidence-based, not faith-based purposes. If you agree with me, please vote your secular values, and please join the Freedom from Religion Foundation.
So with no further ado, let's play this video collage of some of these ads.
We took a stand to declare our independence from kings. We knew that we the people could rule this land and show the world how true freedom rings. We wrote a constitution, the very first, to separate the church from the state. No one can tell the people what to believe, and that's what makes this nation so great. We will bow down to no master, we will kowtow to no lord. We're a free secular nation, we are servants no more. To the old sovereign rulers, we will no longer nod. We are e pluribus unum, not one nation under God. We will bow down to no master, we will kowtow to no lord. We're a free secular nation, we are servants no more. To the old sovereign rulers, we will no longer nod. We are e pluribus unum, not one nation under God. We took a stand to declare our independence from kings.
So you can see most of these people are posing in front of their state capitals, but we had our Alaska member was in front of totems, for example.
Yeah.
We have a trans representative, we have LGBTQ, we have different ages, students. We were thrilled with the participation.
So we are not a Christian nation, and politicians and the media need to know that we are secular and we vote.
And we sure do need to get out that vote.
So now we want to show some more of the billboards that are going up. What do we start with?
Well, we want to start with Alabama, and this involves Chris Nelson, and I'd like to put in a plug that he was one of our 4 plaintiffs last year in a successful federal lawsuit that ended a religious test to register to vote in that darn state of Alabama. And so thank you, Chris, for stopping that Establishment Clause violation and for representing us in Alabama.
Then in Arkansas, we have this great couple, Chris Sweeney and Megan McGuire, who are new parents, and they're featured in a full-page ad this Sunday in the Little Rock newspaper. Not only that, they're organizing a Constitution Day event this Saturday in Bentonville, where the original Constitution happens to be on display. They're organizing a public viewing for area freethinkers to be followed by a march. They're going to march, which is pretty remarkable in Arkansas, the Bible Belt state of Arkansas.
And representing us in the Jackson Clarion Daily newspaper in Jackson, Mississippi, on Sunday will be our guest, Mandisa Thomas. And of course, Mandisa lives in Atlanta, and she represented us last July in a full-page ad in the Atlanta Constitution, as well as on this billboard. And Mandisa, you told me that this billboard is actually still up. Is that right?
It is. And, you know, I had the opportunity to drive past it today. However, it has been marked. I wouldn't
defaced?
say that it has been somewhat defaced, but ironically, it was in the same color, blue, as is on the billboard. So it's very interesting. I am actually a bit surprised that it hadn't been defaced or marked sooner.
Because it was kind of at eye level.
It kind of was, yes. It's a little, kind of a little high, but it not really. But yes, it is still up in the downtown Atlanta area.
And you told me that for Dragon Con, it was really close to where you all marched. Is that right?
That is correct. Dragon Con is an annual convention that takes place in the downtown Atlanta area. And it spans over 5 hotels. Dan, you were there one year.
I was there a few years. What did you dress as this year?
I dressed as myself.
Oh, as yourself.
And as the birthday girl on September 4th. Thank you very much to FFRF for the free thought of the day.
And our daughter born on the same day as you?
Yes. And once again, happy birthday to her. And yes, the billboard was just a few blocks down from the Hilton Hotel and the other hotels on the corners of Cortlandt Street and John Wesley Dobbs Avenue, where I had recently learned that John Wesley Dobbs, who is a noted civil rights activist who was in the Atlanta area, one of his key issues was voting.
Wow.
So I thought that was very, very interesting to learn and to have it on that particular corner, which was pretty historic and monumental.
Yeah, very historic. Well, it turned out to be such a good choice, but dare I ask well, this is not on the air, can we ask what the defacing was? Was it just trying to...
It was just some, there were no slurs or anything. It was something that looked pretty illegible, and the wording wasn't necessarily covered. Neither was my face. I can send y'all a picture afterwards, so y'all can. It looks weird. It almost looks like it could fit, but of course it doesn't. But I'm not sure what it says. But again, whoever did it chose the color that was on the billboard. So I thought that was very interesting.
Well, some of our billboards have been hit with water balloons filled with paint, They can throw them.
Don't give any ideas out, Dan.
Oh, yeah, I did not say that.
So that we've been so thrilled with that billboard that it's still up. But we do have some more billboards that are going up this week and next week to show.
And but speaking of Black Nonbelievers, thanks, Mandisa, for recruiting our next participant from Louisiana, Joe E. Mills. How did you find Joe?
Yes, so Joe is one of our members, and I really appreciate that he stepped up to participate in this in the campaign because the representation, especially of the Black atheist and non-religious demographic, is very important, and because Black Nonbelievers is a partner with the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which I am proud of. I really thought it was important that members, especially those who didn't feel comfortable necessarily expressing themselves, in the public arena, we connected with Joe in 2021 for our 10th anniversary event. And he's been a member of ours ever since. He's also connected with the local humanist organization there, the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, whom I've had the pleasure to speak with previously.
Me too. They're lovely.
Yes, absolutely. And I thought it's very courageous of him to have never participated in this sort of project before. It's almost like just jumping into the deep end of the pool. But, it was really great. He's very passionate about our position, about atheism and about atheism in Black communities, as well as voting. And so one of the things that I do stress and emphasize to our members is that it's good for us. We are an organization that offers support, but it is important to get involved. It is important to put yourself out there, even though it may be intimidating. You may face some backlash, but that's what we're here for. We're here to support with that. We're here to support with any challenges that any members go through. And I know that the Freedom for Religion Foundation is also there as well. But this is what direct community engagement looks like. It's also about how our members step up and get involved with these projects. And they just might be surprised the positive feedback that they receive.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing for people to know that I am not just the only representative out here, that there are members who are stepping up and they are getting involved, not just with our organization, but also other organizations, especially FFRF.
Joe,
I didn't know that this was his first real public coming out. So we asked a lot of him. It's kind of non-baptism by fire. So we're really grateful to him.
So he runs your Black Nonbelievers affiliate in Louisiana, right?
No, we used to have one there. We are always looking for folks to step up and revive it if they have the time and dedication to do so. But he is one of our members in that area. So we do engage online, and he will also be attending our annual cruise convention in November. So and he was also present at our 10th anniversary celebration that took place in New Orleans in January of 2021.
And he's an engineer. He has 2 children, and he's representing secular voters and FFRF in 2 full-page ads, also in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge and in New Orleans. And, of course, on this billboard that we see here in New Orleans.
Yeah, and the billboard is up, and I know he's going to try to get a picture of it himself by it, if it's safe.
Absolutely, yes. That's amazing, and I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of this campaign, especially in all of the cities that it's in. Did you say that I'll be on the face in Jackson, Mississippi?
Yes, not a billboard in the newspaper, the Clarion.
Oh, okay.
You agreed, but it was a while ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to get someone to get a copy of that.
Yeah,
and send it to
I'm
me.
asking for them, but if anybody lives in Jackson, we'd love to have a copy of the ad. So in Michigan, we have these FFRF members. We're going to see that billboard, who are married and young parents, and they're going to be appearing in our full-page ads in both the Lansing and Detroit newspapers. And we'll have 2 billboards like this going up in the Lansing area next week. And in Missouri, Jodette C. Lenzer, who's an FFRF member, a grandmother, a retired academic, is our representative in this ad in Jefferson City, Missouri.
That's an ad or a billboard?
In this ad is a billboard.
Yeah.
The billboard is an ad. And also in a newspaper ad in the Jefferson City newspaper. We're picking capital newspapers when possible, but because the circulations are so small in some capitals, we're also doing some additional newspapers, but not in Missouri.
Now here's New Hampshire, Jack Shields, I'm an atheist and I vote. And then in New Jersey, this FFRF member and writer is appearing on 5 poster billboards, those are large billboards, in the capital city of Trenton, and also in full-page ads in Newark and Trenton this Sunday for Constitution Day.
And then, I think that we needed to say a little bit more about New Hampshire. I think, well, we won't go back, but we have 2 representatives in New Hampshire. And one of them's on the billboard, and then we have a newspaper ad in Concord and another one in Manchester. And in the Manchester ad, Charles Townsend, who's a former legislator, will be showing. But now we have Cheris Hord coming up for Ohio to catch up. And we're very proud of Cheris. She's our former intern, and she just got her graduate degree and got a job at Media Matters as a researcher. So congratulations, Cheris. And this billboard is appearing in Bowling Green. And Cheris's picture in front of her state capitol is going to be in the Columbus Dispatch this Sunday with the similar text to the ad that Dan read that was in the Washington Post.
Now over to Rhode Island. Todd Ellison is our rep here. This billboard is going up in Warwick, Rhode Island, and he's representing us in the newspaper ad in Providence this weekend. Todd is a cancer survivor who started a nonprofit to help others with cancer. In Utah, Ray Matthews is a former Mormon who's actually a local GOP delegate. And he's on this billboard going up in Salt Lake City, and he's representing FFRF. His ad is appearing in the Salt Lake City Tribune this weekend, where we hope it'll create quite a stir.
And we also have this billboard in Oklahoma, and this is an ICU nurse. And she, unfortunately, we're looking at what we wanted the billboard to say, that was going up in Oklahoma City, I'm an atheist and I vote, and the billboard company nixed that. I don't have a visual of it. It now says I'm a humanist and I vote. I was pretty mad about it, but I left it up to Jamie, and she said, okay, I'd rather have something up than nothing. And so we also do have a billboard up. We don't have a visual of Brent Michael Davids, who is a member of the Mohican tribe.
He's a Stockbridge Munsee. He's a Native American.
And his billboard's up in Madison, Wisconsin.
And he's a well-known, internationally known composer, focusing on, he mixes European music styles with indigenous American flute music, and he's composed for the Chanticleers, he writes choral music, he's composed for Zeitgeist, the Kronos Quartet, for the Joffrey Ballet, the National Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah, I'm sorry we don't have that billboard up, but we have all of this up on our website. We have press releases going out. And
all
actually,
of
he was
that.
part of our July campaign. But the billboard was so successful that when the billboard company asked me, should we move it closer to campus, I said, yeah, let's put it up now. And I had a neighbor come by in Madison who said, I nearly had a car accident when I saw that billboard. He says, I'm an atheist and I vote. So glad we didn't have a car accident, but it was a very successful ad. So we are so grateful to Mandisa and to all of our participants around the nation. And we're very proud that we're hitting all 50 states this year with our Secular Values Voter campaign. And that members like Mandisa went to so much trouble to get these photographs taken, mostly in front of their state capitals. Some people had to travel quite a while. And they're courageously going public in the media as open atheists, agnostics, and humanists. So please be sure to look for these ads if you live in these areas. And this is the ad that we mentioned earlier that appeared in the Atlanta Constitution with Mandisa. And this one's appearing in the Clarion in Jackson, Mississippi. There are a few states where we did not have volunteers come forward. So we're grateful for Mandisa and some others for helping us with that.
So, Mandisa, are you still there? Before
I am.
We want to talk about your conference that's coming up, the Women of Color Beyond Belief. But first, can you tell us why you're willing to be a part of this campaign and why you think the secular vote is so important? And we want to remind viewers that FFRF, by the way, is a nonpartisan political group. So
nonpartisan, apolitical group.
Apolitical group, yeah.
So for me, it is very important, for one, to openly identify as a non-believer if possible, because people need to know where we stand with our values. And our representatives do need to know that, we live in, we live, we work, we organize, we build community. People need to know who we are. And I am in the Atlanta area, which is one of the core, battlegrounds for civil rights. And so it's important to me, especially with Black history, because as we talk about Constitution Day, when that was signed, my ancestors did not have the right to vote.
Yes,
they had no rights at all. And so it is important for us to continue to emphasize, especially as we see what's going on in the political. And I must say that I am speaking as an individual, not as the president of Black Nonbelievers. It is important that we exercise this right that so many have fought so hard for, some who even died for. And it would just be a travesty if we did not exercise our civil rights here. But also because, like it was said before, the non-religious are now among the largest voting bloc. And as more people start to leave their churches and their religious communities behind, it's important that we are there as leaders and as secular communities to step up and help fill that gap. And people won't know that unless we speak up. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons why, I'm sorry, Annie Laurie, but that is one of the reasons why I became involved. It wasn't simply to just, say, hey, I'm an atheist and I'm here. That was part of it, right? It was to show what this journey was like for me, and also to help so many others who are on that same path. And there's just so many layers to it. And it's so important that, again, our identities are visible and out front, and to also let people know that we participate actively in this process. And it's going to be important if we are going to have anything changed in the future.
Well, I'm glad that you also brought up that when they got the godless part right when they signed the Constitution, but so much else was so hideously wrong. I mean, I can't even remember. Slaves counted as, was it? Three-fifths, and Native Americans was different. They didn't outlaw slavery. Slavery was the norm.
Yeah, well, and women couldn't vote. But it was an aspirational document for a more perfect union. So we just have to keep perfecting it. But the one thing that we want to salvage is the godless part.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a good place for us to start to show that times change. We are still battling the stigma of atheism and non-belief in the United States, which is supposed to be, the land of the free, right? But as we know through history, this wasn't always the case. And so with so many challenges that we've had as people and as certain demographics, which intersect a lot, it's important for us to continue to not just acknowledge what happened before, but continue to be a part of that process and agents for change, because it can happen.
Yes, and we're facing a lot of challenges, and this is a good time then to turn to more of your activism, Mandisa, and we want to know more about the Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference. It's at the end of September, and tell us more about who's organizing it, who's speaking at it, why it's so important to offer this voice and podium and venue for women of color beyond belief, and how viewers can get involved and register.
Yes. And first, I have to give a special thank you to FFRF for being our legendary sponsor for this conference for the third year in a row. We couldn't do it without your support and the support of our fellow secular organizations. So the Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference is a production. It is produced by myself, Sakivu Hutchinson from Black Skeptics Los Angeles and the Women's Leadership Project, as well as Bridget Crutchfield, who also represents Black Nonbelievers. Our three organizations have came together to produce and put on this conference that features the voices and the work of women of color who are atheist, humanist, agnostic, and other similar identified labels. What's important about this is that as we are championing and seeing the growing diversity in this community, it's still very challenging for our voices to get the recognition and for our work to get the support that it needs. So building off of the 2018 Five Fierce Humanists issue of the Humanist magazine, which featured myself, Sakivu, Bridget, Candace Gorham, as well as Liz Ross, we thought with all of our collective work over the years, as well as the community building and the women and the people that we have engaged, that it was time for us to put on a conference that featured the amazing and important work of these women, as well as the issues that directly impact us. And of course, this year, we will be focusing on reproductive justice, reproductive rights. And Charis, who was featured on the billboard, is one of our speakers.
Yes.
And we are very happy to have her there. And the primary mission of Women of Color Beyond Belief is for the broader community to understand and know and to learn about the work that these women are doing, but also to show that our organizations are not just sitting around and waiting for change to happen, that we are actually making this change happen, and that there are more activists of color, especially women in this community, who need the support. And I'm very, very happy that we are in our third year. People can go to Women of Color Beyond, WOCBeyondBelief.com, as well as BlackNonbelievers.org to register. We will be streaming the event online as well for those who cannot participate in person. It will take place from September 30th to October 2nd in Chicago at the Marriott Chicago Midway. And I'm also happy to announce that we have added a service project called Secure the Bag 2, which is being in collaboration with Go Humanity, which is formerly Foundation Beyond Belief. And this is a meal packing project that will help feed thousands of families in the greater Chicago area. So we wanted it to be more than just about us talking about the issues. We wanted to make sure that we are also putting our money where our mouths are, giving back to the community, and also and also letting people know that there are ways that they can actively support the work on the ground, and especially when it comes to food insecurity, people who are economically disadvantaged, who we definitely try to, whose voices we definitely try to amplify, because we come from those communities. We understand what that's like. And so with that, it's about featuring those voices and also giving an opportunity for more people in our community to hear us, see us, as well as support us.
Hey, Mandisa,
and it's always an amazing event. Mm-hmm.
Is the conference just for women of color, or can anybody register?
Anyone can register, attend. It's a come one, come all event, as it says in the flyer. In fact, we encourage everyone to attend, whether it is in person or online, because these issues actually impact all of us, whether we are directly affected or there are ways that we can help support and learn more about what we can do to be more active. I really appreciate that, Dan, you and Laurie are always at the event every year.
We're looking forward to it.
And yes, it's always a wonderful time. You get to see how we put on our events, and it's always a fun and great time for everyone there. And just a note that our admission always includes the conference meals, because we do like to take into consideration low income or people who are economically disadvantaged. So we make sure we structure that to be more inclusive and feasible for people to attend. But of course, if you cannot attend, there is just a very small fee to stream it online, and we have student rates available for both in-person and online streaming. So we hope you take advantage of this opportunity, again, to learn more about the work we do at Black Nonbelievers, Black Skeptics, and the Women's Leadership Project, but also the work of the women who are speaking, as well as the work of the organizations like FFRF that supports this event. So all of it's all a part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion that we're all striving for.
So speaking of conferences that are a lot of fun, we're also going to see you at our conference in San Antonio at the end of October at our national convention. And I think a lot of our viewers know that, Mandisa, you are a singer, and you'll be one of the singers in the debut of the Godless Gospel program.
And maybe we can put another program together before the conference about that.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and actually talk about Godless Gospel musicians, former gospel musicians and singers who are now non-believers.
And composers.
Including
you and Andre Forbes.
Me and Andre Forbes. And Mandisa, you get to sing that final Natural World solo. It's good enough. It's good enough.
Yes, it's good enough
for me. The natural world is good enough for me.
It's really spectacular, and people should also, we don't maybe have the website up, we should sign up for FFRF's convention. It's at the end of October, and you can go to ffrf.org and look for the events link. And it's in San Antonio. There are 3 hotels involved, so if you can't get into one, you can get into another. But it's time to make your hotel reservations there.
Isn't Mandisa doing a panel too?
And Mandisa, you're going to join us. Well, you're going to chair the panel, and we have to talk about that. But there'll also be a panel with a lot of the same singers and musicians. And I guess whether we do activism, well, I'll talk to you after the show. But thank you for doing that too. So it's going to be 2 great conventions to look forward to.
Yes, it has been an honor to be a part of this project. It has been an honor to be a part of the Godless Gospel Project. And some of the other singers are also speakers at Women of Color Beyond Belief, so you get to learn more about that as well. And
Candace.
I'm looking forward to the FFRF.
Candace and Cynthia.
And Cynthia, yes.
Yeah, they'll be there. So can you stay for questions? We have some questions from viewers here.
Absolutely.
People watching Ask an Atheist. Every week you can watch live and ask questions, and here we have some.
Or make comments.
So PJ, you didn't put the name of the person, but this is a question from, who knows, but as a viewer. How do you determine the effectiveness of this I'm secular and I vote ad campaign? In other words, is it worth it?
Yes. Well, we had exceptional reaction and new members. People didn't just ask for information. They joined from the newspaper ads. And we have a bit.ly that if they go online, we can track. And then if they send in the coupon, we know. So I think it will be very successful. The billboards, they are their own advertising, of course. So it's not, although we want to get members out of it, part of it is that we're educating the public, we're educating legislators, we're taking these ads directly to the capital cities and the billboards, for the most part, to the capital cities, where we want them to see we're here, because the non-believing demographic just doesn't get, as Rodney Dangerfield would say, doesn't get enough respect. It doesn't get acknowledged that almost a third of the population today is non-religious, and we have very firm secular values, like stop overturning abortion rights, stop giving money to religion, stop persecuting LGBTQ. So I think that we will have very good ways of measuring it.
And stop preaching in the classroom.
And we also want to thank people who are members of FFRF, because your membership makes this possible. Also, people who donate to the advertising fund.
All right, here's a question about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Is FFRF specifically seeking to increase membership among blacks and other minorities with these ads and billboards?
We tried to get the demographics. I don't think we quite got the U.S. demographics, but we tried very hard. And it is part of, we have a DEI campaign, so we're doing this in multiple ways, not just with this ad campaign. We also have a new ad campaign that will be unveiled next year, that we're working with a minority-owned, women-owned PR firm on that. So that will be more specific, but we're hoping that it also just educates the public about the diversity of non-believers in their community, and opens eyes, and especially that we make a little bit of a dent with politicians, that they see we're here.
Mandisa, do you hear from people who are surprised that not all blacks and minorities are church-going religious people?
Absolutely. We are still getting, we still get that feedback. The feedback here in the Atlanta area has been spectacular. There are a lot of people, I posted my selfie with it when it first debuted, and there were so many people who were excited. It's right near Georgia State University's campus as well. And I had the opportunity to speak with a graduate student who was also a part of the Secular Student Alliance group there, the Secular Panthers, and they were just so excited. And it has just been really, really great. And because the Metro Atlanta area is very diverse, there is a large Black population here. There were a lot of people who were so happy to see it. They knew they weren't alone. They were glad to see that I was a representative. And I'm very happy to see everyone who participated in the campaign, because it can be, again, it can be a lot for people to, to feel comfortable with their faces on these billboards, which are so very public.
Yeah.
But yes, I thought it was, I am proud to have been chosen to represent for the Atlanta area and Georgia for this campaign, because yes, there are a lot of people who are not just surprised, but they're also very relieved that there are more people of color, there are more Black folks and Black women who are openly identifying as atheists and non-believers.
Thank you so much. We were so proud to have you represent us, so we're really grateful. It is a big ask, and we are thrilled that so many people, so many non-believers are willing to do this. I think we have to change perceptions in society, and this is one very important way to do it.
Any more questions, PJ? I guess that's all of the live questions for today. So thank you, Mandisa. Mandisa Thomas is the president, founder of Black Nonbelievers. You can look them up online. And thanks for all of your work and all your activism.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the work that you do there at FFRF, Annie, Laurie, and Dan. And thank you for being a partner with Black Nonbelievers and the Women of Color Beyond Belief Conference. I'm very excited to see you both in 2 weeks.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
And actually, we're going to talk to you tomorrow for our radio show.
Oh, on the radio show, that's right. We're going to get a lot of work out of you, Mandisa. You're a real treasure. Also, we want to thank the other participants in FFRF's Secular Vote campaign. And this is a reminder that every Thursday we drop our radio show. And the radio show is broadcast. It also becomes a podcast. And
besides Mandisa, who's our guest?
Our guest will be Jimmy Bangash. He's an ex-Muslim who lives in the UK, who's a psychotherapist who helps Muslims who are accused of blasphemy and are persecuted.
And he's gay, and he especially helps LGBTQ ex-Muslims. And we also upload on YouTube on Thursdays our weekly episode of Free Thought Matters, which is our formal TV show. And that airs in 13 cities, but also goes up on YouTube. It airs in 13 cities on Sunday mornings. And we're very proud that our guest this week is the wonderful Professor Anthea Butler, fighter of white Christian nationalism.
When you heard the word evangelical, just like me, you think good news, right? But unfortunately, for a lot of different groups, the good news means you got to sing a certain kind of praise and worship music. The good news means that you can't do your cultural practices the way you might in terms of worship, in terms of belief. The other thing that means is that you can't be part of movements that are about racial justice. So, for instance, let's talk about the ways in which evangelicals talk about Black Lives Matter. They think it's a terrorist group. They think it's this or that or the other. And the problem with that is that why wouldn't you as an evangelical want to see less Black people being killed and respect for African Americans?
So Anthea Butler will also be speaking and getting an award at our convention. And so we want to invite you next week to tune in to Ask an Atheist. It's Facebook Live, same time at noon Central. Thanks for watching.